Hello everybody, it's the 18th of May today, and this is my giant Sequoia that I grew from seed 2018, and well, it's growing big, but I'm having some dieback on some of the lower branches now, and I still haven't built the trunk that I particularly wanted. But I think what I want to do is just nip out the growing tips of some of these branches so that they will branch out more whilst the tree continues to get growing. I really want this tree to be about 4 or 5 feet in height, and at the moment it's probably 2.5 to 3 feet tall. I want a big chunky tree, so to that end it's been planted in this large pond planter to act as a air pot, and I probably would have got on better if I put it in the ground, but I don't really have anywhere to do that, so you make do with what you got. Back some of these dead branches, some of these are just too thin anyway to make gins. If they're not strong enough, they'll just come off, otherwise I'll shorten them back. That one's still got some living, or some growth on the end of it, so if memory serves, this is my front. It's got the best Nibari and this interesting sort of curve, so let me just, although that's quite interesting also. In fact, actually I think this is a better Nibari, although it's got some interesting roots at the back here, an interesting root spread, but I think that would be a better front, and it's still got some interesting movement. So let's put a label in indicating that's the front. The only labels I've got to hand are these red ones, which I usually pop in a plant, or a tree rather, to denote that I want to repot it, but hopefully I'll remember that this means front. The thing to do would be to mark it with a marker and right on their front, and I'll probably do that at some point if I remember, but there you go. So all I'm going to do is I'm going to shorten back some of these branches, not a lot, but just enough so the tree knows it's been nibbled. As I often said, it'll think a goat's been at it and needs to regrow some foliage. I know it's not very scientific, but in my mind, well, let's go back a stage. There's all sorts of stuff in the books about how when you prune a plant, you redirect hormones and things and whatnot from the growing tips, and that causes things. But in my mind, I still remember in primary school, I believe, being told by a teacher that plants, as he was explaining evolution, I should say, that when we prune our roses to get more growth, and that's how evolution works in a sense, in that a plant that didn't grow back after a goat had ate it couldn't set seed or reproduce itself, and obviously it's much more complex than that, but in my mind that little snippet still comes to mind, and every time I listen to a gardening program when they explain about pruning for Pruning wisteria for flower or whatever else it might be. In my head I think of a goat with a pair of secateurs. Sorry, that's silly. Anyway, cracking on. What I don't want is these branches continuing to elongate any further with all this bareness in the middle. Okay, so going to keep going up the top here, trying to create broadly a triangle shape. I'll take out that growing tip, favour of that single one. As you can see, I've cut away quite a lot, but in the end a lot of these branches won't be in the finished design anyway. I'm thinking if this is my front, maybe I do need to put a bit of wire on a couple of those branches, even though I may not even keep them. Yeah, I think I will put a bit of wire on. That's better. As I say, assuming this is now my front, I'm thinking I could probably lose that branch entirely. I've got some T-bar, well actually there, that's a triplet branch there, but I'm going to leave it. Will help pull this tree up, as it were. Okay, so I think that'll do. As I say, this is a fairly long-term project. Hopefully I'm 60 next year, so hopefully I've got enough years left in me to make a go of this. Just going to add some controlled release fertilizer, rake that into the surface, and drinks can in for scale, give you a quick 360. As I say, it's got a long way to go, but you don't want a little Sequoia. If you're going to have a Sequoia, it's got to be chunky, hasn't it? Let me know what you think. All that remains to say is thank you so much for watching. I do really appreciate it. Do all the usual YouTube things. As I say, let me know what you think down below. Like and subscribe. But most of all, please stay safe, everybody.